Now at 10, Pitt State is feeling the music as they kick off their week-long Festival of Art. Plus, a crash in southwest Missouri claims the life of an Aurora, Missouri woman.
Former President Trump is set to face a judge on Tuesday. I'm Cristian Benavides with what he's saying about the charges he faces.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Amber Jenkins. An Aurora, Missouri woman is dead following a crash near Mount Vernon, Missouri. It happened yesterday morning near Missouri Highway 174, just 4 miles east of Mount Vernon. Authorities say 38-year-old Pamela White was traveling west when she veered off the roadway, hit a tree, and then overturned. White was pronounced dead at the scene. 2 people have died in a shooting that involved a Kansas City, Missouri police officer. The Missouri Highway Patrol says a Kansas City police officer called for assistance on Friday night. After arriving on scene, police discovered 1 officer and 5 people on scene. 3 of the 5 had gunshot wounds, according to Missouri Highway Patrol. An adult male was pronounced dead. 2 others were taken to a hospital where a woman later died. A man was treated for minor injuries. It's unknown at this time what led up to the shooting or who fired the shots. No officers were injured. Meteorologist Sam Lane joins us for the first look at weather.
All right, thank you very much. It's been a stormy morning across the area, but we needed the rainfall, but those storms have now pushed off towards the south and east. You can see storm watches and warnings extending all the way from eastern Kentucky. In fact, a tornado warning in western Virginia, all the way down through Mississippi. Big D getting some big storms right now with lots of severe thunderstorm warnings down in that area, but that is all moving away from us. Instead, we're going to be left with mostly fair skies tonight. Temperatures dropping through the 60s all the way down to 57 degrees by morning, and that also means some fog will be developing across our area, so be watching out for that as you head out to work tomorrow morning. Cool mornings for the next couple of nights and then mild afternoons. Some late week thunderstorms are in our forecast, but as we head towards summer, it's going to get summer-like around here, and I'll tell you all about that in our extended forecast in just a little while.
The Pitt State Festival of the Arts kicked off today. It's a week-long series of free concerts in nearby venues and at PSU. It's organized by the Pitt State Department of Music, local businesses, and the Bricknell Family Center for the Arts. The festival will showcase different genres of music, including jazz, brass, Latin, chamber music, and more. There will also be an exhibit at the Bricknell Center featuring portraits of renowned entertainers from the collection of Jim Halsey Company.
Every major city around the world actually have at least one, if not several festivals going on through their cities for their community. We actually wanted to start this 11 years ago. So this is the 11th season, 11th edition of the festival.
The exhibit will be open through Friday from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. every day. Former President Donald Trump was indicted last week. Now reactions are pouring in. Reporter Brent Solomon spoke with voters and political experts to get their thoughts on the case.
Next month, Republicans are expected to decide when the party will hold its Iowa caucus, widely believed to be a potential indicator of who could best represent the party. Early reports suggest it could happen in mid-January. We wanted to know if Donald Trump's indictment will weigh on voters' minds.
When you are prosecuting someone this popular, with millions of supporters, it's not just about the black letter law. It's really about what is the purpose, what is the point, what are you going to accomplish?
Anders Walker is a law professor at SLU. Although he calls the indictment a, quote, national embarrassment, he says not all voters will see it that way.
What exactly did he take? Did he take information that could jeopardize troops in the field, operations that are underway, national security? And what was his motive? Was he planning to sell those documents? If they've got something like that, then I think there's a good case to put him in jail. But if he just wanted to show off in Mar-a-Lago with a few souvenirs from his time in the White House, well, maybe it's not such a big deal.
As the case works its way through federal court, reaction pouring in at home.
You know, I think it makes people think a little bit more. It is a big deal. I think we should care. I think it's important to be honest.
He's going to run unassailed, like it's going to be no issue whatsoever.
I spent some time talking with voters.
I think they shouldn't have done it because he was always going to get away with it. And now that they've done it, the bar is now so low that like we can have infinite indictments with no repercussions.
Even if he ends up in a conviction, he might be pardoned. If he wins the 2024 election, he might pardon himself. And if Ron DeSantis wins, he'll probably pardon him anyway.
Two new polls suggest most Americans see a security risk in former President Trump's alleged actions that led to an indictment on federal charges. An ABC News poll found 61% of Americans say the federal charges Trump faces are very or somewhat serious. 28% say the charges are not serious. And a CBS News YouGov poll found out that 69% of Americans feel it would be a security risk if Trump possessed documents regarding the U.S. nuclear systems or military plans in his home after leaving office. Former President Trump was out on the stump this weekend, campaigning even as he faces a federal indictment against him. CBS News correspondent Kristen Benavides reports from Miami, where Trump will make a court appearance on Tuesday.
In the end, they're not coming after me, they're coming after you, and I'm just standing in their way.
Former President Trump fighting to return to the White House, campaigning over the weekend after being indicted with 37 federal criminal counts, including obstruction and conspiracy over alleged mishandling of classified documents after leaving office.
How are the waffles here?
During a brief stop at a Waffle House in Georgia, he called it political persecution.
The whole thing is a witch hunt. It's a disgrace. It should never happen.
But even Mr. Trump's former Attorney General, Bill Barr, says the allegations made in the indictment should be a cause for concern for the former president.
If even half of it is true, then he's toast. I mean, it's a very detailed indictment, and it's very, very damning.
The indictment alleges Trump knowingly kept and risked exposing records with America's top secrets, including nuclear and military capabilities, showing some to a writer and political ally, and of trying to cover it up, attempting to convince his lawyers or to work around his lawyers to circumvent a search warrant. Mr. Trump's allies say the charges, which carry a maximum penalty of decades in prison, go a step too far.
Most Republicans believe that the law is used as a weapon against Donald Trump.
A new CBS News poll shows 76% of likely GOP voters believe the indictment was politically motivated, and Trump remains far and away the leading Republican candidate for the nomination. Christian Benavides, CBS News, Miami.
Trump says he plans to speak at his golf club in Bedminster, New Jersey, Tuesday night following his arrangement. Coming up, how the state of Kansas is taking extra steps to protect healthcare workers from violence on the job. Plus, what a new survey says about the struggles Missouri school districts are facing when trying to hire substitute teachers. Healthcare workers in Kansas will soon have further protections against violence they face while on their jobs. Governor Laura Kelly and state lawmakers held a ceremonial signing of a bill aimed at protecting the frontline workers. Reporter Sean Logging has more.
Violence against healthcare workers is an aspect of this job that can really take its toll.
There for comfort and care of the patient, and day after day of being abused can definitely make you into a person that isn't able to give that.
Rebecca Gilbert has spent 10 years as a nurse in Wesley's ER and is now its director.
Verbal abuse daily to violence that has gotten to the point of nurses being taken to the floor by patients and repeatedly punched in the face.
Even before the pandemic, a survey by the Kansas Hospital Association found about 50% of hospitals reported an instance of physical violence at least once a year, and others still seeing it multiple times a month or week. Hospitals say it's worsened in recent years. It's not just nurses, doctors, or other frontline workers facing these attacks.
Walking down the hall, there was a person that had been sitting on a bench, and he stood up and he attacked me and punched me in the jaw.
This happened to Chris Biesing in 2017 at Stormont Vale in Topeka. He's been among hospital workers seeking more protections. This year, legislation passed and signed into law increases penalties for assault on healthcare workers and adds a crime for interfering with healthcare services.
They aren't free to come back the next day and do the same thing again and again, which does happen currently in healthcare.
But the damage of this has already been done. Rebecca, seeing colleagues and friends never returning after an attack, were facing these issues for years.
See patients or families or visitors and fear for myself.
The state of Missouri has released data from a survey of substitute teachers. The data shows districts statewide are struggling to fill substitute roles, even though the state lowered educational requirements to become a substitute. The survey doesn't show exactly what the problem is, but it does provide some clues. Some experts say low pay could be a major factor, as well as not receiving enough support. State officials hope the survey will urge lawmakers to do more to solve this issue. Oklahoma lawmakers are heading back to the Capitol tomorrow for a special session to override some of Governor Kevin Stitt's vetoes. Those include extension to tribal compacts on motor vehicle registration and tobacco tax collections. There appears to be enough votes to override those vetoes. Lawmakers could also discuss other bills that fell during legislative session. A little later, how Canada is stepping up efforts to combat wildfires.
And we had quite a bit of rain in some of the areas till last night. Is more rain on the way? What about a heat wave coming? I'll tell you all about it when we come back. Well, we had quite a bit of stormy night across the area, but beneficial rainfall, and I don't think anyone was going to complain too much about that. Let's take a look at Indigo Sky Casino and Resort down in Seneca, Missouri. Starting off this morning, it was cloudy with the rain evaporating off of the parking lot, and then as we headed through the afternoon, we saw temperatures rising and also some cumulus clouds developing as we headed through the afternoon. And then the sun came out and got a little bit warm, but not too bad for this time of year. And then we saw some cumulus clouds and some stratocumulus clouds as well. And we still have a few clouds out there, but that's going to be clearing off as we head through the overnight hours. And then fog will be forming later on. This afternoon, we made it up to 83, starting out at 63, which was actually below the normals of 85 and 64. Thank goodness we weren't anywhere close to that record of 103 back in 1953, and we did pick up around 1/3 of an inch of rainfall at the airport, so we're still a little bit behind for the month and about 6.5 inches behind for the year, so we still have some catching up to do. Rain right now is well down to the south and east. You can see over the last few hours those showers departing our area, and zooming in, we're going to show some of the rainfall amounts last night. A swath of pretty heavy rain fell from around Fort Scott to Lamar, down south of Greenfield to north of Mount Vernon. Some places picked up over 4 inches of rain. Another swath from Chanute to Parsons to Columbus, right through the metro area. So some very beneficial rainfalls. Zooming in a little bit closer, you can see from Liberal to Lamar, over down towards south of Greenfield around Miller, they picked up quite a bit of rain, and that's good news. I wish we had more to go around, but unfortunately, we're going to have to wait a little bit on that. Now, tomorrow morning, with the rainfall and the clear skies and the light winds, we're going to see fog develop, especially along south of I-44. Some of the visibilities could be less than a mile, so be careful if you're heading out tomorrow morning for work, as we're going to be dealing with some dense fog. Temperatures right now are very pleasant, generally in the 60s, a few 70s earlier, but now everyone is down into the 60s with northeasterly winds. Rainfall amounts are going to be, or chances are going to be low all the way through to tomorrow. May see an isolated storm or two, especially in northeastern Oklahoma tomorrow afternoon, but over the week, this is the week forecast for rainfall. You can see it's not a whole lot. Instead, maybe 1/2 inch up towards Yates Center and Garnett, and that's about it. So it's going to be mainly a dry week. Looking at the forecast tonight, mostly fair skies with northeasterly winds, temperatures dropping down to very pleasant levels in the 50s. And then tomorrow afternoon, isolated storms, especially down in Oklahoma, with highs in the 70s. And then as we go into Tuesday morning, we'll see some scattered showers possible up towards the north and west with lows in the 50s. And then Tuesday afternoon looks pretty nice as well, with highs getting close to 80 degrees on northeasterly winds. And then as we go into Wednesday morning, cool once again with lows in the upper 50s to around 60 degrees. How about the next 7 days? Well, pretty nice. Tomorrow, Tuesday and Wednesday, and then isolated storms on Thursday and Friday. But then the heat starts building in as we go towards next weekend, Father's Day, 93, and then turn your head if you don't want to see this, but 97 by the first day of summer next Wednesday. So it'll definitely feel summer-like with temperatures like that. Amber?
Well, it is definitely getting pretty hot.
Yep.
Thank you. Wildfires are still burning strong across much of Canada, creating smoky skies and air quality concerns here in the U.S. Now, both countries are stepping up efforts to combat the blazes. Reporter Michael George has more.
Canada is struggling against an unusually fierce wildfire season, and officials warn it could get worse. But in the province of Nova Scotia, a reprieve. residents now able to return, thankful their homes are still standing.
We just don't have answers yet, so. But we have a home, we're grateful, so many don't, and yeah, it's devastating.
The fight is on against more than 400 wildfires, stretching from east to west across the country, spanning 11 million acres, and more than half of those fires are not under control. Hot and dry conditions are making it easy for wildfires to spread. Climatologists like Rutgers professor Dr. David Robinson says climate change is partly to blame.
We're seeing snow melt off the lands earlier in the spring. That gives them time to dry out. That in turn helps warm things up and you get this vicious cycle going.
The smoke drifting south, and earlier this week, Americans breathing it all in. Cities covered in toxic smoke. Skies painted in apocalyptic orange and red hues, with flights and baseball games canceled.
We've seen that this smoke knows no borders. It just jumps on the prevailing wind patterns at any given time.
And now hundreds of firefighters from the U.S. and Europe are arriving in Canada to lend a hand to the firefighting efforts. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
Still ahead, the Joplin Outlaws look to snap their losing streak. And the St. Louis Cardinals got off to a hot start. We'll see if they were able to hold on, though. Next in sports.
Well, the Kansas City Royals and the St. Louis Cardinals are both on the diamond Sunday afternoon. The Royals are trying to snap a 5-game losing streak. Meanwhile, the Cardinals are looking to win a 3-game series for the first time since May 25th. Reds at Cardinals in Busch Stadium. Top of the first inning, Jonathan India, straightaway center field. Tommy Edman is out of room, and this ball is out of here. 1-0 solo home run. Reds go on top. Bottom of the third now. Game tied 2-2. Nolan Arenado slicing fair. That ball stays in the ballpark. Goldie's running hard around the bases. Paul Goldschmidt will be safe at home plate. Arenado will come in and get in there with an RBI triple, 3-2 Redbirds. So bottom of the 8th now, tied 3-3, infield in. Paul DeYoung's throw, not in time at home plate. Ellie De La Cruz beats it out. Reds take the lead, up 4-3. Bottom of the 9th now, same score, last chance for St. Louis. Brendan Donovan gets a good piece of it, and it's not far enough. And that's your ball game. Reds go into St. Louis and win this one, 4-3. Royals at Orioles in Camden Yards today. Top of the third, 3-1 Baltimore. Salvador Perez, take a good look. You won't see it for long. 2-run homer. Royals tie the game 3-3. Bottom of the third now, same score. Bases loaded for Josh Lester. That one gets through. 2 runs coming to score. Baltimore regains the lead. They go up 5-3, but O's aren't done yet. The rest of the way, they don't look back. Gunnar Henderson, get the tape measure out. 3-run bomb. Look out, Warehouse District. Orioles go up 10-3. So we head to the bottom of the 8th now. Same score. Baltimore starting to pile it on now. Nick Whitgren, and that ball is way out of there. Baltimore goes up 11-3 after the solo home run, and that will stand as the final score. Baltimore beats Kansas City 11-3. Well, the Joplin Outlaws are off to a red-hot start this season, winning their first 3 Mink League games. But since then, they've lost their last 3 games, and now they're looking to snap that streak. Joplin on the road tonight in Clarinda, taking on the A's. The Outlaws lost the series opener on Saturday. They look to even things up tonight. At the moment, the A's are up 7-1 in the 8th inning. However, Colton Reynolds has gone 2 for 4 with a double in this one for the Outlaws. Joplin will take the day off tomorrow, and they'll continue their long road trip on Tuesday in Sedalia. Well, it's Game 5 of the NBA Finals, and that will tip off on Monday night. The Denver Nuggets are now only 1 win away from winning their first NBA title in franchise history, while Miami, on the other hand, is looking to extend the series.
So we didn't come this far to stop playing now, no matter what the odds are, the analytics. When we get out there, we just got to compete. We got to win one, and then we got to win another one, and then we got to win another one.
Oh, my biggest concern going into any closeout game is human nature and fighting against that. You know, you're up 3-1, and, you know, it's a most teams, when you're up 3-1, they come up for air, they relax, and they just kind of take it for granted that, oh, we're going to win this. And the neat thing for us is that going back to the bubble, you know, we've been down 3-1 before, and we've come back and won. And we know anything is possible.
And one last note I want to mention, Oral Roberts in Tulsa, small private school, they're headed back to the College World Series, men's baseball, for the first time in 45 years. So congrats to the Eagles.
Sounds good. We'll be right back. Here's something we rarely see. A lobstering crew caught a bright orange American lobster earlier this month in Casco Bay. That's along the southern coast of Maine, the distinct color from a genetic mutation. A marine scientist says the chances of catching one of these is about 1 in 30 million. This lobster is about 5 to 7 years old and missing one claw. Just in case you are wondering, the rare lobster is not heading to anyone's dinner plate.
That's unfortunate.
What's going on in the weather?
Well, we have some softball-sized hail down in Dallas-Fort Worth. Thank goodness we don't have anything like that going on right now. Instead, some pleasant weather for the next few days. But then as we head towards Father's Day, it gets to 93 and then close to 100 by the first day of summer next week.
Wow, looking good. What's going on in sports?
Heat Nuggets, a 3-1 series, and Denver's only 1 win away from closing it out.
We'll see you tonight. That's our time for now. Thank you for making us a part of your night.